This is Dennis Sullivan, and today we're going to talk about how to create a SWOT analysis for any business or service to give you a competitive advantage. This is a terrific tool for startups to use, for business owners who want to explore ways to turn around and grow their business, or for anyone to analyze another business or organization. If you're not already familiar with a SWOT analysis, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. One thing to keep in mind is that the strengths and weaknesses are important because they are internal to an organization. An organization has total control over these things. And the idea, the goal, is to build on the strengths and then correct the weaknesses. Now, as part of the SWOT analysis, you also need to look at the external factors. These are opportunities and threats. And the goal here is to exploit an opportunity and avoid a pending threat. These are things that are totally outside the control of any business or organization, but they still have to care about it. It's like the weather. You have no control over the weather, but you still are concerned about how it may affect you. Same idea here. Now, the strengths and opportunities are both favorable to an organization. These are good things. We want to build on those strengths, find those opportunities to leverage. On the other side, the weaknesses and threats are unfavorable to an organization. So we need to either correct the weaknesses, deal with them somehow, and then also look at the threats, the pending threats, and try to avoid them or navigate our way through them. So when we're looking at the strengths, again, these are internal and favorable to an organization. We have control over them. We want to look at those things that we do better than another organization, better than a competitor. Interesting question here. What do others see as your competitive advantage? Perhaps prospects or even customers. What do they see as your competitive advantage? And what advantages do you have over others in the market? Weaknesses, these are unfavorable, but also there are things that you have control over, that you can correct. So what are things that you can improve? What do others see as a disadvantage that you can correct? For example, if a challenge that you have is hiring good quality people, then that is internal to an organization. You have total control over the people you hire, and that would be a weakness that you can correct. Another question to ask yourself is, what makes you lose sales? These are things that you have control over, that you can correct. Externally, now we're looking at trends. These are things that are occurring outside the organization or business that you have no control over, but you still can leverage those things. So these are trends that may be occurring within technology, the economy, new government policies, some demographic shifts that you can take advantage of. In the same way, the threats are external to organization, don't have control over them, still need to care about them. So we're looking at things like, what are competitors doing? Perhaps a new competitor is moving into the market. You have no control over that, but it can be a threat to your business. Technology changes can be a threat. The economy, if we go into a recession, is that a threat to your business? New government policies, demographic changes where people may be moving away from your market. That can create a threat to your business. Again, it's important to understand opportunities and threats are external to an organization. They are trends that are occurring but still need to care about. So let's look at an example here with Chick-fil-A. First, looking at the strengths. Favorable, internal to organization. These are things that Chick-fil-A has total control over. For example, they are the largest chain in the U.S. Domestic sales grew 14.2% last year, more than $9 billion. Sales have nearly doubled in the past 5 years, according to recent data. So Chick-fil-A has control over how much sales they do. They have control over the advertising that they do, the marketing, the pricing. All this is part of how they're managing the business. They scored in the top 10 in the Harris poll in 6 key areas. So products and services, they have control over the price that they're putting out on the menu. Their leadership, their vision, they have control over that. How they appeal to people, the workplace environment, how that's structured, their financial performance, what they're choosing to do within society to create social responsibility, sustainability. They have control over all those things. And they're scoring very, very high as a result of that. That is the strength of Chick-fil-A. Their reputation, again, is very high. One of only 14 companies out of the top 10 that had an excellent score, according to the Harris poll. So all of these things are strengths that the company can continue to build on because they have control over these things. Now, weaknesses, again, they have control over these weaknesses. It's internal to the organization, but may need to correct them. So, for example, they have a menu focused solely on chicken. That's going to limit their ability to expand if customer preferences change. That is a weakness. Back in 2012, the late owner made some comments about opposing same-sex marriages, which fueled some protests from gay rights activists. The company also opposes multi-franchise ownership, so that could deter some franchisees who are doing very well from expanding. This may also deter potential operators, such as a McDonald's operator or another person who has successful franchises would be prohibited from investing in a Chick-fil-A franchise, which can be a weakness because they may not be attracting good franchise owners as a result. They are privately held, so they don't have access to large capital investments like a publicly held company would that can issue stock and perhaps grow into some expanding markets around the world. The company does not have franchises outside the U.S., and they're just expanding into Toronto with plans of opening 15 restaurants in the Toronto area. So that is a weakness. Again, these are all things that the company has control over. They can choose whether they want to open stores in Canada, China, India, wherever, but they have chosen not to. And that could be a weakness, especially in some of these markets that are growing. Now, opportunities, these are trends. These are external to the organization. They're favorable, and they would want to try to leverage these things. So, for example, eating chicken, generally considered to be a healthy source of protein and vitamins, according to the National Institute of Health. It's often used in ingredient in weight loss diets. Weight loss is now a $70 billion industry and expected to continue to grow. So obviously chicken will be a part of that diet fad that is continuing to expand. Busy lifestyles, a desire for fast, convenient food over quality continues to fuel demand, according to research from the University of Minnesota School of Public Health. The healthy economy, the stock market, all continue to grow. Entrepreneurship is growing, fueling more interest in investments, especially in franchises that have a proven model to work. Now, threats. Again, it's a trend occurring external to an organization, unfavorable, want to try to avoid them at all possible costs. So right now, more people are expected to eat at home instead of going out to eat, according to NDP, due to increasing rent, tight finances. All means fewer people are visiting restaurants. More millennials, interestingly enough, prefer to cook at home. Better Homes and Gardens indicated in a study that 93% of millennials spend 4 nights a week dining in. We're seeing growing popularity of meal kits, better supermarket foods, increase of in-home movies, streaming media, and making eating in, not out, more attractive, according to Forbes magazine. Sales of in-store meal kits grew 26% last year, while brick-and-mortar sales for groceries, dairy, and frozen foods dipped 0.1%, according to Nielsen. Now, you'll notice in all of these examples that I've given you, I've backed it up with research. This should not be based on your opinion or the opinion of others within the organization. You want to have research. For example, I think most people would think that the trend is eating out. Well, that trend may be changing according to the research. So it's important to have data to support your analysis as you do this. So in your SWOT analysis, we have strengths. We're building on those strengths. We have weaknesses. We're trying to correct them. Looking at the opportunities that can exploit and the threats to avoid a pending threat. And it's important to look at the strengths and weaknesses as internal to an organization. You have control over those things. Opportunities and threats are trends that are occurring outside the organization. I hope this helps. I hope this would help you if you're starting up a business to find the market opportunities, whether you're an existing business owner looking to explore ways to grow, or even analyzing other businesses. I hope you find this analysis to be helpful.